and welcome to another episode of Funjelah. This episode, I have one of my very best friends, Brandon Smith. We used to host a podcast together with my husband Manny called Nights at the Round Table, where we would talk about our faith, our deconstruction, our reconstruction. And if you want to hear any of those episodes, you can check on Spotify and YouTube. Those episodes are all out there streaming, so you can check that out. But he was our co-host on that podcast. He's one of our best friends. And on this episode, we get into some gratitudes and MADtitudes. We talk about how him and Maddie just celebrated their 8th wedding anniversary. We talked about his MADtitude being when you trust someone and then turns out they were just using you as a stepping stone for their own whatever they wanted. You know what I mean? We get into all the tea. Just kidding. So stupid. Anyway. We have a really great conversation. Brandon is one of those people that is so deep and so raw and honest and open. And I love that about him. He's just so vulnerable and like, what do you want to know? Let's talk about it. So we have a really good conversation. And he's also starting his own podcast this year. So keep an eye out for that. It's called Forward. They're going to talk about spirituality and culture. So keep an eye out for that. Also, he preaches. If you want to hear any of his sermons, Expression 58's YouTube page and their podcast, you can find his sermons there. But for now, check out this episode with one of my very good friends, Brandon Smith.
And also...
I have things to promote. Thank you so much, Danielle. Okay. My tour is starting soon. The biggest thing that I'm working on right now, my big, huge bus tour is starting. The family reunion tour. Get your tickets right now, Anjelah.com. Listen, all of these other websites may have some scalpers, may have some scammers. Go to my website, Anjelah.com, ANJELAH.com. All the official ticket links will be there. So get your tickets. There's some shows that have already sold out. There's some cities that we're adding new shows. So there's some that have limited tickets. So just go online right now. Get your tickets. See when I'm coming to your city. And then also, if you want to call and tell me what you're grateful for, here's the phone number. Danielle, let them know.
747-300-5380.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else, Danielle, that I am forgetting?
And if you really enjoy the podcast,
yes, thank you so much. Go ahead, you take this part.
You should follow, like, and subscribe, and leave a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever. Shoot, comment in the YouTube section. Why
so
not?
Good.
Give us all of our flowers.
Yes.
Please.
Not us being hip. We are hip.
So hip and so humble.
We have flowers and tea here. We're gonna call this tea time.
Tea time.
Okay. Anyway, we are ready to start this podcast. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye. I really loved having you guys over the other day.
Yeah, it was super good. I wrote down some like really good things.
Yeah. Good.
I had a real good moment.
Good. That's what I wanted for everybody.
Yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted it for myself. But then I was like, I want to share this with people that I love too. And that's why I was like, let's do some journal entry time. And I was talking to Johnny about it because he stopped by in Phoenix when we were there in Phoenix. So he came to the Airbnb.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
what did you do? What are you talking about?
We did a journal entry day where we answered like questions about reflecting on the past year and planning for this year, where typically we would do like a vision board party, which is so fun, and it's food and artsy crafty, and we're like showing each other, ooh, look what I found, and like stuff like that, and it's fun. And you have this art project at the end, and it's fun to see everybody's different personalities and different like art styles. And Brandon's is always usually really chic and really just like you'd see it at a museum, and
just
I'm like
refined, just like not a lot.
Just so good. And then mine is just like messy words and just like picture. But I was like, you know what? Let's do. I don't think I can make a vision board. Is Bonzo clawing underneath? Yes. Okay, Sen, relax. Bonzo likes to go under my chair and fluff an unfluffable rug. But that's his favorite. He's like, no, I'm going to get it fluffed.
I'm going to get it this year. This is my year.
Yeah. 2025, let's go. I was like, I don't have a vision for a vision board right now. Like, I need to like dig deep and do some like inner work to find out what do I want, like what is my vision before I make an art project, you know? So Mel Robbins, who I love, posted something like 7 questions to ask before you plan for your new year. And I loved the questions, and I was like, oh, these are really good. I'm going to take some time to journal and answer these. And I was like, oh, maybe we could do it together. And so I love that you had a moment with that too.
It was awesome. And I was like, I felt like I was in a reflective mood because Maddie and I, we just came off celebrating our 8th anniversary. So we've been married for
I thought you said
years.
Manny, and I was like, your 8th anniversary with Manny of what? Like, you
yeah,
guys
we've been
friends
dogs.
longer?
We've been dogs that long. Roof.
Bestie.
Did you see my face go, what?
Yeah. It was like, wait, is she surprised that we've been married for 8 years?
No.
Or, so
Maddie, your
Maddie,
wife.
My wife,
Yes.
Maddie. So
Okay.
we did our anniversary dinner just the night before.
Oh.
So on the car ride there at dinner and stuff, we were asking each other, like, what are your greatest memories that you've had in our 8 years of being married?
Oh my God, I love.
And so what was crazy was I would say probably 30 to 40% of those favorite memories of our entire 8-year marriage was last year in 2024.
Wow.
So
Is it because you remember it fresh? Like, because it just
that's a
happened?
good question. I feel like a lot of the moments happen when we were on trips together.
Uh-huh.
Or like moment of realization, like we're at somewhere and then you realize like, oh my gosh, like in this moment, my life has changed. And you have kind of like a sense of awareness of that.
Yes.
So I think coming into Saturday when we were journaling, it was like already like, oh, I already got the ball rolling, right? Like we just got momentum here. So then it was just kind of adding to what that was. And then another way too was clarifying. Like one of the questions was, what is something this year, whether it's a person or experience or I think
commitment.
It was commitment.
Yeah.
Okay. That you feel like you need to let go of, or I think she worded it like held you back this year.
Okay.
And so that was clarifying because we were just talking about all the good stuff, you know? And so it was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
That's good.
And it's like one of those things too where it's tough to actually take moments to kind of like sit, reflect, and ask questions. Like that's got to be one of the toughest things. And that's like one of the reasons I think this year I'm slowing down off social media is because I realized that like that's just my go-to.
Yeah.
Like that's just like a feel good, like quick shot, you know, like I need a quick hit and I'm either trying to escape from answering some of those questions or I can't sit long enough in what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And that's like the toughest thing.
I find that my go-to of scrolling is the escape of like decision fatigue and like mainly decision fatigue. Like we're constantly working, we're constantly sending emails or we're planning something. It's a tour, it's a photo shoot, it's, you know, travel, it's, you know, picking hotels, it's picking this, it's all this. It's like a lot of like making decisions. Things need to be made, and like scrolling is such a mindless, like you said, that hit of like the like you know, like, you know what I mean? Of just like, I don't have to think. I'm kind of stimulated to where like it feels good, but not stimulated enough to where I need to use my brain.
Right.
And I think maybe that's also why I like crime shows, like my same crime shows that I see over and over and over.
Right.
Because I already know the episode. It's fine. I just want it on. So like, and I still kind of pay attention. Like I know it's happening, but I still kind of pay attention, but not enough to where I need to learn a new character. I need to like follow the storyline. Like I already know it. Like, something like that too.
For me, it's like, it's because I don't smoke cigarettes. So it's, for me, it's like I need to smoke. That's what my smoke is. And so I think for me, it's interesting because it's, my mindset is like, I work so hard. I deserve this. This is my decompression. I deserve this. I deserve to take a break. And like, really, it's not helpful for me and where I need to go.
Yeah.
There's so many healthier versions.
Better breaks.
Absolutely. So that's my thing I'm kind of like going to let go of a lot of this year is like, that's my cigarette that I'm letting go of is mindless scrolling on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay. Here's a question. Do you have a path to let go of, or are you the kind of guy that just go, I'm not going to do it, and then you just don't do it? Or do you have to set like boundaries for yourself to help you start like going to the gym. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can't just go to the gym, but you have, maybe I'm the type of person who's like, all right, I got to pick out my workout clothes the night before. I got to like plan out things to set myself up to succeed. Do you need to do anything to set yourself up to succeed in that?
Well, one of the things is just limiting hours right now. So like the iPhones have a feature where you can like limit your amount of time interacted. Now, and I'm the type too, like once the phone says, hey, you're done for your allotted time for today, I'll just stop. Like I got enough willpower and discipline power at this point in my life to be like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to stop. So
I've never set that on my phone.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because like if you say you set, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours, which kind of feels like a lot of time at the beginning, but
it does.
You
but that
realize
goes by so
you
fast.
eat that so fast.
Yeah.
So by the time that goes off, you're like, oh my God, I just spent like 2 hours of today just mindlessly scrolling.
And then you get so mad at yourself.
I'm like, wow, I could have gotten in shape. But like, it's like, it's the memes that you're sending to your sister. For me, it's me and my sister. It's our chain that's like constantly. It's the group chat. It's the person that you talk to, you haven't talked to in real life for 4 years, but you have an Instagram connection. And you're like, oh my gosh, this made me think of you. Remember that one time when we went to, oh my gosh, I can't believe the song is coming back. Remember in middle school?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I really haven't made like genuine connections with people. Right? Like I'm keeping a chain of communication open, but there's not actual like meaningful connection in that. Yeah. So yeah, that's something I'm like trying to orient how I think about it.
What's interesting is we were just talking in a green room recently where we were like, I just read an article, and by article I mean I watched a TikTok video.
Yes.
That's too real.
Yes.
But oddly enough, I watched this on social media about like social media and devices and messaging people and the lack of connection. And so there was some sort of like study done of a group of girls who had a test or something. They were anxious. I forget like what was the thing that was their study, right? Something that made them anxious. Then they were told to contact their mom and talk with their mom. Some of the girls saw their mom face to face, and some of the girls called their mom on the phone, and some of the girls text their mom. And they said it was like night and day difference with the girls who sat with their mom and called her on the phone, like actually heard her voice, versus the one who texts. They said their cortisol levels were elevated even higher. They were more anxious after they texted with their mom versus the girls who actually heard their mom's voice and sat in person with their mom. And it was talking about just like this generation, how we don't call, we only text. Like, oh my gosh, why are you calling me? Just text me. That it's a lack of connection that is hurting us, our actual health. Like our cortisol levels. Like it's more anxiousness, it's more stress because we're not connecting with another human being in person, which is like what you would want to be in person. But even just speaking, just like getting on the phone and talking to someone, we would much rather just text me. That's leading to more anxiousness and stress in our bodies.
I've heard the same thing. Again, watched a video on it, but about, and you guys don't relate, but about dating apps and how it's ruined relationships and just people getting together and how it's like totally affecting the way people view romantic relationships and establishing connection. And it's like totally, it's like, this is why people are single longer. This is why people have higher divorce rates, higher issues and stuff. A lot of it has to do with, obviously there needs to be like more research done in it, but the girl that was talking about it, I was like, you're making a lot of sense.
That's interesting because I was reading a study recently and it was saying that teenagers these days are drinking less and having sex less.
Really?
Which is so, like, to me that's surprising because I would think like, oh, you got access to it now, but this is, I mean, these kids have access to Snapchat, all the socials, all the phones, but the actual like genuine connection with somebody is like harder for them to find and harder for them to get to.
So that makes sense. They're not having sex because they're not connecting with somebody like in a real way. They're
It's only thirst traps on the socials.
Stop.
And that's a connection. So it's like, and I was telling.
I thought you were saying there's like some moral revolution happening. I was like, really?
Listen, God is raising up a pure bride. Let me tell you. But no, I just think like so much of our life is lived for digital hugs. And like, to me, it's like we need just real human to human interaction and connection with people. Like that's really it. Like so much of us, like even our mindset and what we buy and where we go and what kind of car we need to drive and who we need, like how our photos need to be. It's like all for digital love. And like at the end of the day, that just feels so cheap and shallow, you know? And I've been guilty of that too. So it's something I'm trying to break free from.
Wow.
And I think it makes you like judgier. And it makes you quick to just write somebody off because of like one little thing that they said or one little photo, or also because of like I've watched videos and stuff where I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. You go to comments and they're like roasting them and it changes and you're like, oh, maybe that was bad or something, or like,
oh my gosh, I've done that too, where I've seen a video and I'm like full on, I'm like, oh, that's funny, and I go to leave a comment like, oh, haha, and then I see that everybody thinks it's awful and I was like, oh, should I think it's awful? I thought this was funny. And then there's times where I'll be like, I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna like, I don't want to be called out for
thinking this is funny and it's not.
Oh no, it's corny. Yeah, totally.
For sure.
That's all too real. I know there's things sometimes where I'm like, I love this too much that I'm not even gonna look at the comments. Like I'm just gonna enjoy this. Like this video's mine. Like this is my little bit of joy for today. That's it. You know, I'm not gonna look at the comments because I know that like people legitimately, that's like their stage. Right, the comment section is so many people's stage because they actually don't feel like they have a real voice in their life.
That's right.
So they will comment the most outlandish, the most hurtful, the most like
stupid,
just dumb stuff on there. So, anyways.
Yeah, and then I look at that and I feel bad and I think, oh, do you not have any life outside of this?
Yeah.
I'm like, go outside. Just go outside.
I would like to do what you're saying, like about less mindless scrolling. But I think I need more of a plan, like a structure. Like I need more, even if I did that, allow myself only 2 hours, I'll get through my 2 hours like by 10 a.m. And I'm like, well, I have to go on social media for my work. Like I have to post something about, you know what I mean? I'm like, dang it. I just need a different way. If anybody out there listening has a method of, what do I put a rubber band and snap myself every time I like, what do I do? I need help.
You could read a book.
It's so hard to I wish I loved reading books in the way that Danielle loves reading books. Danielle will get through a book over the weekend. Like we go, and it's a 2-day weekend that we're doing. Like we have shows Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday. She's done with her book.
It's amazing.
Full book.
I read a whole book on
a flight recently. I think everyone can become a reader. It's just you got to find the right book. Like you really do. So like you got to find, maybe 100%. It is like the murder mystery type stuff for you.
Okay, I did. I had Danielle go get me a book.
Oh, and it wasn't. What book did you get her?
The Marsh King's Daughter,
which
I haven't even read.
I enjoyed it.
Asked for that.
And here's the thing: I saw a commercial on TV that was for a new show, and it was like based on the best-selling novel. And for some reason, the first time ever in my life, my insides were like, I think I want to read the book instead of watch the show.
What?
And I was like, hey, Danielle, you know where to get books.
No, when you texted me that, I was like, what's happening here?
What is going on?
I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean you need a book?
Who put you up to a challenge?
The books that I've read are like self-help books, religious books, or my friends who wrote books, like different celebrities.
Which all good books in their own right.
Yeah. I love Valerie Brunelli's book. Oh my gosh, I loved Kathy Griffin's book. Like I do read, just not for pleasure, like in the way Danielle does, where I would scroll, like I'm gonna find that pleasure in just scrolling. She finds the pleasure in picking up she can't wait to pick up her book. I wish I had that. You're a good reader too, though.
Yeah, I read a lot. Like as much as I can. Like,
and you read heady books too.
Yeah. No,
this girl over here in Fantasyland, listen.
Maddie's in Fantasyland right now too.
Don't say that as if it's a negative thing.
It's not a negative thing. I'm just saying.
I also read nonfiction as well.
What?
Like memoirs.
Hey,
usually.
That's good. Yeah.
That's great.
Brandon over here reading like some heady theological books.
Yeah, and it takes me a while to get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think for me, I realize that it's one of the quick ways for me to grow, right? Like I think over the last couple of years, specifically, I'd say probably 2020 to 2023 has been like some of the most significant growth in my own life, my faith. And it's been through like adversity. It's been through like tough times. And that's like that's the way to grow. That's like not exciting because it just hurts.
Yeah.
And it's just like the wrestling and just like the waiting and all sorts of stuff. But like for me, like listening to podcasts and reading those heady books is like, for me, that's like, this is the much nicer way to grow. So like for me, I'm such an achiever. Like it's like, there's like a future me that I'm like trying to get to, if that makes sense. And so for me, it's kind of like, I got to get there. So like, what are the catalysts for growth in my life right now? So I'm like looking around. The things that I have access to is books. Okay, I can grow. Like I can hear from these stories. I can learn. I know that tough times will come. It's like we're constantly in this season of just like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be good. It's going to be tough. It's going to be good. So right now things are good. It's not going to be like that forever. And then I'm going to grow during that situation as well.
You said there's like this other version of you out there, like I forgot how you just worded it, like this higher version of you.
Yeah, this like future
that
me.
you're trying to get to, this future you that you're trying to get to. Can you see him? Like, do you see what he looks like? Or is it just, like there's a version of me out there that I just want to get to?
I feel like for me, it's not what I look like, because that used to be what I had. And I realized that there was like so much chasing that it didn't allow me to stay present, because I was like constantly chasing this. But it's more, I think it's more the essence of that man that I aspire to be. Right? Like it's somebody who is honest, right? Like it's somebody who legitimately just tells the truth, lives by the truth. It's a guy who is full of hope. Right? Like the ways that I battle my depression and cynicism is like my faith. So it's like I got to have hope. So in the moments where I'm feeling like, man, we're all going to hell.
Yeah.
It's me kind of taking a step back and being like, that man of faith has hope that like actually what Jesus set out to do in this whole thing and transform the world is actually going to happen. And it's a good thing. And at the end of the game, we all win. Yeah. Right. So I think it's more the essence and the values of what that man stands for that I'm like, on the days where I know I'm taking shortcuts, that only I know I'm taking shortcuts. It's kind of like, it's somewhat of a built-in accountability. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You're good at that built-in accountability. Manny, my husband, tries to be my accountability, and then it just comes like this.
I try and be Maddie's accountability, and it comes like this.
We don't want it. You're not the one.
Let me do it myself.
And yeah, it'll take 2 years longer than if I would have just listened. I had a thought the other day that was very interesting to me, as you're talking about like this essence of a version of yourself, and this character. And I saw something, again, wrote an article on social media, and it was like talking about character. And in this moment, I forget what it said, but in this moment, I doubted my own character, thinking like, if I was in this like peer pressured situation, it was like, be the type of person that, in this kind of situation, you're just going to stand your ground. And I think I've had moments where I have been that person and like, no, thank you. But then I feel like there's moments where I'm like, I don't know, like, do I have good character? Would I choose the right thing in a peer pressured moment? I know I have before, but I'm sure there's been times where I haven't. Like, even just the simple thing we were just saying about, I think this video is funny, ha ha ha, and then I see nobody else thinks it's funny and go, oh, never mind then. Like, even in a simple, stupid little thing like that, I was peer pressured out of saying ha 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 to this person who put a lot of thought into their creative video. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I was like, having this moment of like, oh, I hope I have good character like that. I hope I can be that type of person. And then I saw another video recently, and again, it's a silly, stupid thing, but it was Nate Bargatze and Kevin Hart and Keenan.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
And they were talking about he doesn't cuss, and they're like, do you cuss in real life?
You're talking about Nate?
Nate, yeah.
Okay.
Because you don't cuss on stage, you cuss in real life. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I don't. And like, I don't cuss on stage, but I
Right.
do be cussing in real life. I do be like, hey, out here just like letting it happen. And so he was like giving his reasons of why. And then it was like a moment of Kevin Hart being funny, saying all the cuss words.
Right.
And he was like, look, you could just say whatever you want. Just give us one. Just give us one.
Yeah.
And then Nate was just like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, just
Wow.
like, no. But like was so like, didn't even like, there was no temptation to even just
No second guessing.
please
Wow.
anyone, make anyone laugh, make
Mhm.
anyone, like, there was no, he was like, oh, no. I didn't even know that's what you were wanting me to do. No, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Wow. That's actually like really impressive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
was really impressed because I feel like I would have clammed up and been like, oh, should I?
Yeah.
I have been in moments where I on stage and I'm like, should I say this? And then I have said it and regretted it later in not in my own show, but in like different like the one show that I did where it's like kind of like a game show but in a stand-up club.
Oh, Joe Dombrowski's show?
I think it was his
Was
show.
Or
But there was like times where I was like, oh, I don't know how to not do what I know they want me to do.
Oh, like kind of getting caught up in what everyone else
Yes.
is doing or caught up in the
Yeah.
moment.
Like I know
and
they
you
want
lose
me
yourself in
to
a
say
second.
this right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
I know they want me to say this.
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
want to say it, but I don't know
Yeah.
how to not say it
Mm.
and still be funny and entertaining and still have the crowd and still be like
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
just like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know, because I have been in that situation where I gave up and I gave them what they wanted, and then afterwards I was like, man, I wish I was smart enough to like have a way out.
But I think but that is difficult. That is classic peer pressure, is it
Yeah.
not? Like
Yeah.
in that moment of just getting totally caught up in what the group, the majority is
Yeah.
doing. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, wait a second. And I mean, like, that's not easy always.
That's tough. And it's like, I think one thing I realized last year is like, I kind of going back to even what I was saying of like this future me. I think for many years that future me was like almost made present me kind of like put to shame. Like I felt like I'm not good enough because I'm not him yet. So that's been even a balance itself. So I'd say in 2024, like this was like legitimately the first year where I was like, I actually really like myself.
Oh, that's cool.
Like I would buy myself a drink, like legitimately. Like it'd
Oh,
be like,
I
yo,
that.
you want a cigar, bro? I got you.
I like that.
I got you. And that's honestly, I think the first time really in my life that I could say a year went by that I really like myself.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think when I was younger, I had like a lot of arrogance just because of my pride and my ignorance. But like as we all go through challenges and tough times, like your ego gets put in check. You gain some knowledge, you gain some life experience, and now like less of that ego and more of the knowledge. Now you all of a sudden really start to be like, oh, I really like myself. And I've noticed that as I'm beginning to like myself more, there's less of an inclination in me to have to be something else than that. Now, again, I am not in your shoes, and I know like the position you're in is in the public, and there's like a lot of people's expectations of you, and I'm much more just like, I'm living in my own little lane, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because this was such a huge year for me in the sense that I was like, oh, I actually really like me. And I don't know if that's just because I'm in my 30s now and it just, life experience is catching up with knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, but I know that like last year I really came to that where I was like, legitimately, I would buy myself a drink.
That's cool.
And that's like, I was super proud to be able to hear myself say that and understand that that's like my point of view right now.
I feel like that's a t-shirt.
I'd buy myself a drink and just like, like maybe
I like me
should
so
even do
much,
it.
I would buy myself a drink.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And a croissant.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hungry.
Ooh, and a baguette if I'm in Paris.
Hey, ooh, that is interesting. I feel like, I mean, other than like questioning my own character, like when I saw that, like, would I be the type of person that whatever? I feel like I like myself. I don't feel like I'm at my best right now. Like I'm not exercising. I'm not giving myself any form of ritual in my life, like a morning prayer, meditation, a devotion, even a morning stretch, like something regular. I do these things, but not consistently.
Yeah.
Like one here, one there, one, but not like when I'm in my season of consistency, where I'm consistently tuning in like every day and starting my day with ABCDEFG or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I haven't been in a season of that, and I don't know if it's like coming into like motherhood and like out of postpartum and like survival mode and like all of that, and getting back on the road and getting back into writing material and like kind of being in survival, but like just keep going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think like for me, I want to get to that place where I'm like, I like myself. I like this version of me. Like I'm exercising, not so I can look a certain way, but so I can feel good.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like my body is like atrophy, like full on just like the Tin Man who needs oil. You know what I mean? I want to get to that place where I can say like, yeah, I like me right now. I like the intention in my life. Like it's a lot of just go instead of just like, no, I intend for this. And so that's where I'm going towards this. Right now I'm just going. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
I want to get to that for sure. And I think I said this last year too, read more, like before bed, like put the book by my bedside. And I did do this past year. Remember I bought a new book, and I even told you I was at the airport. I went to a bookstore and I was like, Danielle, did you know there's bookstores at the airport? You're all, oh my God.
Yes. Very much knew that there were bookstores at the airport.
But not just like your regular where there's snacks and everything. This was like a full-on library bookstore.
Yeah.
And so I bought a new book because I finished my Marsh King Daughter after a whole year.
Wait, what new book did you buy?
So I bought this one. Okay, so again, on social media, there was this girl, and I think I sent it to you. She's like, if you like sci-fi.
Oh, those are great.
Ding.
Those are
if
great.
you like murder mystery, ding, whatever.
Yeah.
And I took screenshots.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to go pick one of these books. So I went to that bookstore. I pulled up my screenshot and I was like, do you have any of these books?
Yeah.
And so she picked one of the books for me. And she was like, which one do you want? We have all, of these. I'm like, I don't know, just pick one, whichever. And so she picked me one. And I haven't loved it. Okay. And so I'm like, I don't know. So I put it by my bedside so I could try and like I'll pick it up and I'm like, man, I'm not loving this.
You can DNF.
What does that mean?
Did not finish.
Oh.
Yeah. I have many a books have I started and gotten maybe 50 pages in and gone,
I don't
this is a waste of my time.
Yeah, my library, I live by this. It's like I've read all of some and some of all. So there's a couple books, that thing, like if you open it up, you're going to see like probably food stains, liquid stains and highlights, and other ones you're going to be like, did you make it past the first chapter, bro?
Yeah. I mean, reading takes time, as we have established. Yeah. And there are books that I can get through in 4 hours on a flight. Books that take me 8 hours or 8 weeks or something. But I used to be, when I first rejoined my reading addiction, if you will. Oh my God. Hi. She's taking photos of Bonzo. I used to had this mindset of like, I'm not a quitter. I'm gonna finish every book that I read.
Right.
And then there were some bad books, like books that I finished and I was like, what a waste of my time.
Yeah.
What a waste of my time reading that book. So I have now gotten into the mentality of like, if I'm not hooked within the first 50 pages, putting it away.
Yeah.
Just moving on.
That's gonna be a no from me, dog.
I'm like, I want to be, I'm like, I want to be hooked again, because sure, are there books that I can read that I'm actually learning something like, a memoir or whatever other nonfiction books exist. But I know there are so many books. I know it was a good book of when I finish it, I feel so creatively inspired. And if I finish a book and it makes me want to write afterwards, I'm like, oh, that was a good book.
It made me feel like I could do it.
Yeah. Like I am like, oh, I want to go back to my passion projects or something like that. But then there are other books where I'm just going, what is this?
Yeah.
Get this away
from me.
Maybe
I need to do that and just hand it off to someone, see if they want it.
that's okay. Put it in the little libraries around town.
Oh, yeah.
Because that might be a book someone else loves.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Those are cute, those little libraries.
Yeah, I like those.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know you're kind of in a decent neighborhood. Telltale sign. little library. Like, oh, it's okay out here. We can walk our dog at nighttime.
Brandon, I love that you're here on Funjelah because we used to co-host together nights at the round table with Manny, and that was more of a deeper, let's look at our faith and all of that. And this podcast is about gratitude, which we talk about all the time, just in our friendship, like regularly. But we do our MADtitudes and our gratitudes here, and it's one MADtitude. That's the thing that's making you mad these days. Yep. That's just putting you in a bad mood, giving you a bad attitude, giving you that MADtitude, and then we go into our gratitudes. So what is something that is giving you a MADtitude these days?
Ooh, MADtitude. I will say it like this. My MADtitude these days is having a certain someone in your life who you believe has your best interests at heart, only to realize that you're just a stepping stone in their own pursuit.
Ugh.
I had a situation that happened last year, and it was kind of a combination of what even happened with 2023. And it was a supposed mentor of mine who for the last so many years I thought was really looking out for me.
Oh, no.
Like really, paving, open up doors and, making calls and all sorts of stuff. And only to realize that there was another guy who was involved in the mix, and there were some rumors that were spread. Long story short, drama ensues, and I get essentially like demoted. And what ended up happening was the door that I thought was going to open for me got completely shut, and it even looked like I took a couple steps back.
Oh, wow.
And I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, like all these years that I thought like you had me in mind. And I thought we were building something, and I made you look so good, only to realize that like you actually aren't really looking out for me. And it was sort of like, it taps that thing inside where you feel like I got to do it on my own. And that sense of feeling so small in that moment, like maybe like it takes me back to a moment. And this was like actually a traumatic moment for me as a kid. We were playing hide and seek, and the funnest game, because we had a whole block and we had like 16 kids all within like 5 years of each other. So we all kind of grew up together on the same street. And so there was like 5 houses that we could use on the block for hide and seek. So these games became massive and they took hours. It was like the dopest thing. So there was this upstairs closet in my dad's house, and
you could go in the house too?
Yeah, you could go in houses.
Oh my gosh, this game was gonna take a week long.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like a whole Saturday after we watched Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh,
dude,
what
it's
a
like,
time.
yo, play hide and seek, and it became like this 4-hour bonanza.
Whoa.
It was so sick.
How fun.
So, anyways, houses were empty, and so I'm hiding in this upstairs closet, and I somehow managed to like wiggle myself inside, and I closed the closet door. So I'm hiding, and what feels like an hour is probably only, 20 minutes. And I realize there's nobody in the house looking for me.
Oh, no.
My parents are out, and there's nobody in the game that is within probably 50 feet of me.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, well, I should go find a new hiding space just so I could get involved in the mix and I could see and hear other people, and only to realize that I can't get the closet back open.
Oh, no.
And I'm completely stuck. And
I can't breathe right now as I'm listening to the story.
This thing dawns on me that nobody is coming to save me. And the small Brandon that was in that moment so magnified, I realize that it's something that I've carried with me for a really long time.
Wow.
So there's moments in my life where I realize I'm expecting someone to come and save me, and I'm hoping someone to come and save me, only to realize that it's just me.
Oh my gosh.
So the situation brought back that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I trusted you, I believed in you, and now I have to save myself. Oh. So that's been my MADtitude, and last year was a lot of just processing that.
Wow.
And like reorienting myself to be like, Brandon, you aren't that small kid anymore trapped in a closet playing hide and seek with your neighbors, right? Like you actually have somebody next to you who actually is loving you every single day. Like you are not alone. And these things that you're going through, you don't have to save yourself. And that's always tough because I've been able to save myself previous times. And what ended up happening in that story was I start screaming. Like I'm like profusely crying and screaming, and like my voice is going weak. And my sister ended up hearing me, and my sister ended up opening up the closet. And I remember after that, I just held Brittany. I was like, "Thank you so much. Like you saved me," you know. So that's my attitude, is like the realization of like, oh, you weren't actually looking out for me. I was just like a stepping stone in your own pursuit of what you're doing.
Dang.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It was rough. And the other thing too that always makes those situations a little bit weirder is when money's involved. That always adds that other thing. Like at the end of the day, like money's gonna come and go. Like I'm not too worried about that, but it's more the principle of it. Of like, dang, you were a mentor of mine, and there was like a huge breach of trust here. And like, did I just waste a couple years trying to learn from you? So that's some attitude.
Wow. That's pretty deep. I had a mentor one time, kind of, I don't want to say stab me in the back, like that sounds, you know, intense. But I had a mentor one time who I started to feel like she didn't have my best interest at heart. And I started to feel some competition and jealousy. And I was like, that's weird. Like it was just like my insides picking up on something. And I was dating a guy at the time. I was young. I was dating a guy at the time. And I remember her saying something like, you better not hurt him. And it was like more so like protecting him, not like me. And I remember it like alarms went off in my insides. And I was like, that's weird. Like she got really defensive for this guy that I'm dating. Like that is strange. And then I remember I like kind of cut ties with her and was like, I think we're not meant to be in each other's lives.
Yeah.
And then she tried to date him afterwards.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then things started to make sense.
That's crazy work.
And he told me about it. We weren't even dating anymore, but we had still like remained. We're like, we're just friends. Okay, cool, whatever. And I remember him telling me, like, she tried to date me, and I was like, no way. Like,
wow.
All my alarms were right, but that definitely sucks when you have a mentor or someone in that position in your life where you're almost like coming under them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to at least show you that I respect you in a way that's like setting you up like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for them to just like toss it. I don't know, man.
I still have to interact with this said person, but I've limited my interactions with this said person. So just as to build boundaries of like, okay, like I used to be the type, and I'm the type like, and maybe this is just my church upbringing and like being a part of church plants and like setting up chairs before service and tearing down chairs and putting up sound and carrying stuff, where you're just like, yes, I'll help. What do you need? I'll come early. I'll stay late. What do you need? I'm here to help. I'm here to serve.
Got you.
And that's always been my mentality with just like what I do. And so now it's like, oh, you don't get that no more.
No.
Peace. I'm out. That's it. No, we're good. You got somebody else to do that for you.
I got a wife at home.
Yeah,
I got a doggy that needs walking.
Yeah, Blue.
See you later.
Yes. Shout out to my boy.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What are you grateful for these days?
Ooh. Well, I mean, just a couple weeks ago, celebrating Maddie and I's 8th anniversary. I'm super thankful for that. Like, my primal question that I've been trying to answer for my life is the question is, am I loved? And like, you know, it's so crazy because my sister and I, we grew up in the same household, but like, it's not the same house and it's not the same parents. And how we interact and how we react to our upbringing and the things we went through is so different. So like her question's different than mine, but like for me, it was like this, like, am I loved? And that's a question that I've been like trying to fulfill and answer for my life. And Maddie to me is like the closest thing to the actual like tangible presence of God and love in my life.
Wow.
Right? Like as a Christian, like as much as I want to believe that there's a heaven after life, like there's no like guarantee of that. Like the only heaven that we have is here and now. And like to me, like, and yeah, like the way that Maddie does all these little things to show like her love for me, I'm like, yo, this is the only proof of God's actual real love in my life. And that just is like, I'm so grateful for that.
Wow.
You know, reminiscing over these 8 years, it was like, man, like you have been with me through so many things. You've seen me grow and become a different person, and you're still here. I'm so grateful for that. You know,
that's good.
So that's like one I'm grateful for.
Let's go, Maddie.
I'm grateful for the capacity to stay present. That's something I've really had to develop, like, because I'm such a high achiever. I'm always like trying to knock off a goal in my life.
Yeah.
So like actually building that capacity to stay present has been something that I've like had to earn.
So when you say stay present, are you saying like while you're actively chasing a goal, staying present in this moment, or once you've like achieved the goal, staying present in the fact of like, I accomplished something? Like, because that's something that I think of, like, once we achieve a goal, we're on to the next, go. But staying present and being like, wow, this is something I worked really hard for. I journaled about this. I put it on my vision board, and here we are. Yeah. Like, how do you pause and, like, be in that moment?
Yeah. I think it's two things. One, it's what you're saying. It's like the checking off of goals. That's huge. That's awesome. I say for me last year, like Maddie and I, we did a couple international trips. One was in Italy and one was in Japan. And I got to experience things that like completely opened up my world. Like I'm like sitting in the Sistine Chapel and I'm staring at this like insane mural that Michelangelo drew and painted. And I'm just like, what is my life right now? And it's like, I'm not thinking about future plans. I'm not thinking about where I'm going. I'm not thinking about what amazing meal I'm going to have after this. It is just, I am here and I am just like honoring and just sitting and basking in this like amazingness. And so for me, there were so many moments last year like that where it was like I just decided to just be so in the present, living my life. Just, I'm here. And I think so much of us, like, we have this thing where we're waiting for something to happen. Like, we're waiting for our lives to start instead of actually, like, living our lives now. Yeah. Like, I remember as a kid, like, one of the funny things was, shout out to public schools. It felt like our breaks were a little bit longer in the summer. And so I remember there'd always be this phase. As soon as school gets out, you're like, man, this is going to be so awesome. You got all these summer plans. We're going to like do all this stuff. And, you know, a couple weeks in, you're like, man, I can't wait. Like summer is about to begin. We're about to do this, you know? And then it's like you're waiting for summer to start and summer's already started. Yeah. And by the time you're like, whew, I'm here. Like I got a good flow. It's like,
3 weeks left.
We're going back to school here, you know? But I realize like so much of my life is lived like that. Like I'm waiting for all these future things to happen and my life is here and now. There's actually this one quote that I wrote down recently that has been like kind of getting me. It's by this guy named John Paul Sartre. And he says this: I have led a toothless life. I have never bitten in anything I was waiting for. I was reserving myself for later on. And I have just noticed that my teeth are gone. Oh my God. And to me, that quote is like so like what are we if we're not here now? Like we're waiting. He's like, I was waiting. I was reserving myself for later on, only to realize my teeth are gone. Wow. So like, there's nothing to like really bite into except for now. Yeah. And that's like, to me, like last year was a huge moment where and even, you know, meditation was a big thing for me. Of just like closing my eyes, putting headphones on, listening to the Open app, which has great meditation stuff. So I was like, I would be in these places and I would just meditate. We were in this Moss temple in Kyoto and I just put my headphones on and I was sitting there and I was just meditating and just like being there. And to me, that was like, that's something I'm so grateful for.
That sounds
to stay present.
Beautiful.
Oh, it was awesome. I keep looking at the photos on my phone and I keep kind of almost like going back to that and trying to relive what that moment felt like in a sense and being like, well, there's so much like amazing stuff happening around me in my day to day. I just miss it. Yeah. Right. Like that is like, there was, who's it? Thomas Merton, who's like, he's got some incredible work. He talks about this and he says the difference between the prophets of old and the normal people was that the prophets were able to see the divine light in the mundane of things. They're able to catch a glimpse of this like beauty in just the boring daily stuff. And to me, that speaks more of just, I think, your capacity to stay present and just to like, just be here. There's so much that we miss.
I have seasons of that. And I think it's like what I was saying earlier, when I'm in my season of tuning in and having ritual in my life in some way, I see the beauty. I see the God in things. I see the God in the tree that's flowing in the wind.
Yeah.
I see God in it when I'm tuned in.
Yeah.
And I see beauty and I see all of that stuff. And it's so easy to be present in those moments and see those things when you're tuning in, when you're actively not being the scroller, but being the one that's like, no, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do something that actually benefits me in some way. I'm going to read. I'm going to journal. I'm going to,
say my
exercise,
gratefuls.
say my gratefuls, like say my prayers, like whatever it is when you're like actually tuning in.
Yeah.
Giving yourself that time. Enough time to where you come out of the time with some sort of revelation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like give yourself enough time to exit that time feeling a little bit differently.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, even if it was just a picture that God gave you in your mind of something, even that is like, that was worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those moments. So like when I tune in, I can definitely see God in the plants, in the water, in the birds going by. Oh my gosh, when birds start singing and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I hear God. You know what I mean? Like it's just so beautiful. I was reading a book to Rosie the other night, putting her to bed, and she likes the like active books where you like flip a thing and you feel a thing and stuff like that. But actual stories, she's not there yet. But there's this one book, I'll show it to you. It's actually pretty like for older kids, but it's called You Are Here, and all the pages, it's about the earth and the stars and the moon, and like the earth has like hard things, soft things, and like whatever, but the artwork is very like intricate, and like this, you turn the page and like this is the ocean, what the ocean floor looks like, and there's like a ship sunk and there's all the different fish and like things in there, and we're like pointing it all out, and like she loves to like sit through that book. And I get to this one page that brought me so much peace that I took a deep sigh and I said, that's beautiful. And it was a meadow with like a little river, and there was a guy laying there on a blanket with a little picnic and like a wine glass and a bottle of wine, and there's a girl over here reading a book by a tree. There's a girl playing in the water in the river, and it was just like, and the sun was like kind of setting a little bit, like not dark, but it was like you could tell it was the end of the day, it was the afternoon, and it was just like a beautiful, peaceful picture that I could actually feel. And I felt like I was like in it, and I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Wow.
And like when I tune in, I can see that in a children's book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I'm not tuning in, I don't see it. I'm like, and read the next page, read the next page. But I've been actively trying to like tune in, like new year, new me. You know what I mean? And so I see those things in a children's book. So I don't even know why I went off that tangent.
No, because it's like
am.
it's like it's everywhere. It's everywhere and we miss it. I think like I always pull back. I'm a church kid through and through, and that's something I'm also super grateful for, is like the way that my faith has evolved and grown. But like to me, like passages where Jesus is like, listen, the kingdom of God is at hand. Like it's like if you take that at face value, it's like, dude, it's like it's as
what does that mean?
It's as close to you as your hand is to you, right? Like the kingdom of God is truly at hand. Like it's everywhere. It's like it's in your interactions. It's in the handshakes. It's in the hugs. It's in the smiles. It's in the laughs. It's this whole thing. And like the fact is that we get to be people that get to like be aware of that and partner in that is like, to me, that's the gift of life. That's like, that's what this is all about.
I think that's why I like Richard Rohr so much.
Challenges me. I've been listening to Rohr for like, 7 years now, and my mind is still blown on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Bless him.
I know. I'd love to meet him someday. Like, I'm going to try and make it happen. I'll pay whatever. Like, sir, you have fathered me. You don't even know this.
Yeah. Put it on your vision board. What else are you grateful for?
I am grateful for, like I just said, I'm grateful for my faith and the way that it's grown and evolved. I'm grateful for the journey that God has me on. I think in previous times, like, I would get mad at people who I used to like look up to, and the way that things have panned out, and the way that some pastors and prophets and all those people have gotten ultra political, and it feels like you've kind of giving up like what this whole thing is actually about. AKA y'all just sold out. But I realized like I've spent enough time being mad at that. And in more ways than one, it's like the best way to counter the bad is to just become the greater. Right? Like, so I think for me, in the way that my faith has evolved and grown, I've gone from deconstructing to walking away from church to being a part of church to being teaching. And now, you know, whatever new endeavor that God has me on, I'm just grateful for it, because I realize I'm like, as much as I thought I needed for my faith to look like something, as much as the expectation for what the expression of my faith would look like, it's been none of that. So it's been an utter disappointment to probably what people wanted it to be. Yeah. But it's been like this gift that keeps on giving in my own life. And I love it. Like, I love my journey with God. And last year, I think, was the first time I could truly say that again, that I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
I am grateful for some of the incredible people that I get to call friends. Like, I was like taking just kind of inventory. Maddie and I were talking over the holiday season, and we were just talking about some of our friends, and then just turned into this whole thing of like, man, so-and-so, I really love the way that I love my boy, man. I love the way that he sees the world. He's always so optimistic. And it's so interesting. Like, I recently came across like several studies, and they were talking about like you really become the sum of your 5 closest people. Oh. So like even body mass index, like you are far, if your best friend becomes obese, you have a 57% chance that you'll become obese as well. Wow. So not only do we start to believe what our friends believe, we'll even start to like look like them physically. Whoa. And not to mention all the other things. We'll start to like take notes of like how to dress, what's cool, what's acceptable, what's not. And so, and I'm sure that study goes way deeper, but I just thought that was so interesting. Like, if your friend is highly motivated and like crushing their goals, you have a far better chance of being motivated and crushing your goals as well. So interesting. We are who we surround ourselves with, truly. And I like
our parents used to say.
Yeah. Truly. You know,
turns out they were right.
Bad company corrupts morals, you know? You know, like, yeah. So like
they
for
knew
me,
all along.
They knew. Darn it. Dang it.
Man, yeah. So like for me, I'm super grateful for the people I get to call friends, because I realize I'm like, oh, all of you people, like, you know, Maddie and I, we're not at the place of having kids yet, but you know, once we do have kids, it's the type of people that you're like, yeah, I'd love for my kid to be around them. And like what you stand for and what you believe, like, yeah, you know. The other thing I'm grateful for is good laughs. Last year, I felt like I had some of the best laughs that I have had. And it has come in like so many different ways. Last year was
really good for you.
Yeah, no, it really was. Because like the previous 3 years
downhill.
was like tough. So it kind of felt like when I was turning 33, I was like, well, this is the year that like Jesus died and resurrected. So it may be some death and resurrection for me. And that's what it felt like the previous 3 years were. Yeah. It felt like a slow death.
Wow.
Whoa.
And this last year felt like a little bit of like resurrection. Like it was like taking the experiences of all those things and now plugging it in. Like it's like I've always, like as a kid too, I like loved reading. So it always felt like my knowledge was far ahead of my life experiences. And that only turns into pride really at the end of the day. So I think this journey that I'm on, it just humbled me. And then all of a sudden life experiences are catching up, and then there's this synergy now where you're like, oh, I'm starting to get it. Things are starting to flow. I'm actually in the flow. And instead of like trying to pave my own path down upstream, I'm just like hopping in the stream and riding it now. Yeah. And that feels good.
Does that make you see your parents any differently?
Yeah. It makes me give them far more grace now. Yeah. Because I was so hard on my parents. And I think even like dealing with some of the stuff that I dealt with, and for those of you who don't know, and probably most of you don't know, I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. Like we weren't allowed to play with Pokemon cards because it was of the devil. We didn't listen to secular music because that's definitely the devil. We didn't watch shows like, I didn't get to watch Bewitched as a kid. we didn't celebrate Halloween. We went to the Harvest Festival.
Oh no, we just talked about this.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
The Fall Fest.
Yes. Oh, the harvest. The harvest. Let me tell you.
Trunk or treat.
So I think coming out of a lot of that, that's like, it could be very traumatizing. And I think there was a part of me, even as a few years ago, where I was like really holding that against my parents. Like, yo, how'd y'all do me so dirty like this? Like, just straight up, this is so bad. This is like, and realizing that like, oh, you gave me the best for what you knew at the time. And we're all just learning. I mean, like, I realized that my age now, I would have been 6 years old and my dad fathering me.
Wow.
And the amount of grace that I have to give myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, you didn't know better.
Yeah.
And you didn't get to experience what I got to experience.
Yeah.
And so like, again, my worldview is far bigger than where they were in that capacity fathering me and my sister.
I think about that all the time.
How old were your parents when they
My
had
mom
you?
was 25 when she had me.
Wow.
And when I was 25, I had a full-blown panic attack and moved to LA.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think back when I was 25 and until I was 30, I was like, what was I doing? I don't know, goofing around. Like,
yeah.
But I'm like, if I had a baby, that's wild.
Yeah. My mom was 21 when she had me.
Yeah. My mom was 21. She had my sister.
Yeah.
You're a different person. You're a different person at that age.
Real. That's why I'm so grateful that I ended up waiting so long. I didn't wait so long on purpose. I didn't want kids, but I'm glad that I didn't change my mind until later in the game because of who I am as a person now. There's part of me that wishes I started a little sooner in my 30s, but I'm so grateful that Rosie gets this version of me and not my 20-year-old or even my 30-year-old self. I'm so glad that she gets this version of me.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm looking forward to whenever that time comes. Like, Maddie and I were in no rush. She's still in her 20s.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be able to have so much capacity that I've built over my 20s and my 30s to like give. And again, you'll never be ready, right?
Right.
But like as ready as I'll ever be, and I feel like I'll have a much more complete whole person to be able to give and know how. Right? Like, I'm like, listen, like, there's this confidence that now comes because I'm like, I have sat in the Sistine Chapel. Like, legitimately. Like, I got to kiss my lover in front of the Eiffel Tower. Like, my wife and I, we were in Shibuya, right? Just like, I bought a vintage Rolex. I'm like, listen, like, I'm living life, like, straight up. That all happened last year. What?
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, oh, you're going to have, like, a complete person there, So...
Also, you work with kids, so it's
I do.
You get practice.
I get my fix.
Yeah.
I get to send them back home.
Yeah, that's right.
I get to yell at them, tell them to get on the line and run liners, and then send them home.
Yeah.
And
so
they're still learning, though. Like you saying complete person, I'm like, there's still, even when you do have kids, I feel like there's still things you're going to learn. There's still things you're going to change. Yeah. Like, our parents had us when they were young, but I also have watched my parents grow and change as well.
Yeah.
And like, I also grew up super conservative, and I've seen them sort of change their view on different things. And I don't know. I've always just been a big believer in there's always something new to learn, always, until I am 99 years old.
Yeah.
There'll be something new to learn.
Always a student of life.
Yeah. And it's very, I don't know, it's exciting to me, at least. And I want kids one day too. And I'm 34 and I'm still like, a teen pregnancy. But
what do we do?
Oh my gosh.
Not a teen pregnancy.
I do. I still my brain's always like, give me a baby. I want a baby. And then like someone will hand me a baby and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do with the baby?
I'm a baby.
I was like, I am still a child of the Lord. But I don't know where I was going with that. But I
always
agree.
Always learning, always growing. Yeah, that's been the interesting thing too, is like, and I think this goes back to staying present. Like, my parents are getting older now. Like, that's a weird thing. Like, one of the things, like, if anyone sees my dad, you'd be like, there's no way that man is in his 60s.
No
like,
way.
Super in shape, looks great. But like, I was like, oh, you're getting kind of old. Like, we were at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And we're all hanging out. We're talking loud. Music's playing, all this sorts of stuff. And I look over on the couch and my dad is just like, completely out, right? Like I was like, oh, you're getting older. And that was like, oh, you're getting older. Like, let's soak in this moment because we just don't know how many we have left. Not that I'm planning. I hope he lives to 120 years old, right?
That's right.
But like legitimately, like I'm like, oh, our time's running out. That's sad. But then also, I guess like that for me, like in the positive way, that's like, oh, this is an invitation for me to really cherish this. Because I don't know how many Thanksgivings we have left. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many Christmas I get to spend with my in-laws and my mom being there. So, yeah. That's
special. Do you have any more gratitudes you'd like to contribute to the airwaves?
The airwaves?
The airwaves.
You're listening.
That was smooth.
You're listening to Funjelah.
Funjelah 103.7. That is Kiss FM, right? Was that Kiss FM?
Oh, I don't know.
103.7. I think that was
the wave. I don't know.
That sounds like it. Other than that, I am grateful for my health. That is something like last year, like a couple of years ago, I had knee surgery, and it's been like a struggle to just get my knee back to normal, and like I'm running again, which is so awesome. So it's like, even though it sucks, like getting in shape is never fun. It doesn't matter how motivated you are. Like it's just always gonna suck. Yeah. So you just got to get past that sucky part, and then it gets a little bit less sucky. It's always hardest at the beginning.
What was your knee surgery again?
I ruptured my patellar tendon. So like I was playing basketball. This is a great story. I was like, the what now? So like if you feel your kneecap right now, you feel it. There's like a little meaty part right underneath it that almost feels like a triangle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that thing is what essentially holds your kneecap in place. So my boy calls me up. He's like, yo, we need an extra dude. Men's league basketball is like intense. Like this is like,
let's go.
As a former like professional basketball player, like some of these guys approach men's league more serious than pro guys.
Yeah.
It's like, it's life. So we're playing the game, the rapper, and he brought like all his boys, and he brought all 20 of his gold chains with him, you know? And so we're playing.
Oh, the actual rapper.
Yeah. The game. The game. So I pull up and
wait, what?
The rapper, the game, you know,
his name is The Game.
This is how we do. Oh, you never heard of The Game?
You have.
It's okay.
Okay.
You have. We'll play a song
later.
after.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're playing, and I'm having like I'm balling. Like it's just like one of those games where you're just in the flow, and you're just like, this is what I do. So next one, I'm feeling pretty. I cross this guy up. This guy gets like left. Everyone's like, ooh, and I'm going up for a layup on my right side. This guy's coming to block my shot, so I switch to my left in the air. And this guy's knee hits my knee.
Oh, no.
And immediately when I came down, my kneecap had shot at my leg.
No.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so where my kneecap is, I'm pushing, and there's nothing there.
Imagine if there was nothing here.
But could you see it?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I could see it. And I was like, oh God, this is bad.
Oh my God.
And so my boy, he's like, he's trying to calm me down. He's like, it's good. And I'm in shock.
You're like,
I can't
it's
feel
not
anything.
good.
And I was like, no, dude, this is bad. Like, I think I dislocated my kneecap. Hopefully we could just pop it back in place.
No,
so
you didn't try.
I walked to the bench and I tried and straighten my leg, but my leg won't bend.
Because your kneecap is missing.
Exactly. So I call Maddie and I was like, hey, babe, something's like really wrong. And then that's when like adrenaline's wearing off.
Oh, shit.
And it legitimately felt like someone took a metal bat and just slammed my knee. And I am in such excruciating pain that I legitimately can't cry. And I want to cry. Like I was like, I want tears, just like make me feel better. And I can't cry. And I was like, something's really wrong. So at this time, this is crazy, I didn't even have health insurance.
Oh no.
So I'm in a lot of physical pain, but then I'm also in like financial future pain where I'm like,
I know that feeling.
Be an American.
I know that exact feeling.
And I was like, oh God, this is going to clean out savings. Oh man, this is bad.
No.
Because this is going to be like, I was like, this is going to range somewhere between like $40,000, $60,000 for a surgery.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm in pain. And anyways, long story short, I end up like getting admitted to this hospital, and they have like an insurance that they offer patients, and like it was
you can buy just before you like.
Well, I didn't even have to buy. This was the craziest thing. They're like, hey, before we perform surgery on you, we're gonna need you to get insurance. So here's a number that you could call, and you can get this insurance for them. So I call, I say my name, all that's going on, address, whatever. And like 2 days later in the mail, I get like a note card with like a like literally written on with pen, my membership number, my name, and a number to call, and an email address, And I'm like, this is so low budget. Like, this thing is going to cover like $50 on my surgery.
It's just somebody writing, I owe you.
Yeah. Hey, you good, fam?
Yeah.
You know? So I call the next day and I'm like, hey, I need to know, like, how much of this surgery are you guys going to cover? And this guy literally could not give me a number.
Oh.
He was like, it covers most of it. You're going to be good. That was his quote verbatim. And I am stressing. Like, I'm literally like, I am 2 weeks. I'm in 2 weeks. I'm going into surgery. And I do not know how much money. And I have too much pride to start a GoFundMe.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm like, I'm going to bite this one.
I'm going to live on the streets.
This is going to suck. So anyways.
Just like looking around your apartment. Babe, what can we sell? What can we sell?
Do we got any heirlooms? So anyways, before I go into surgery, I tell Maddie, I was like, listen, as soon as they allow you to come into the room, wake me up. I am not staying at the hospital. Like, we need to get out. I don't know how much insurance is going to cover. So legitimately, I was asking about like anesthesia options.
Take the IV off.
Because I was like, I didn't know how much insurance
I'll wheel
was gonna
myself.
cover.
Yeah, I got it.
Legitimately. So I wake up from surgery and I was like, all right, let's get out of here. I'm still like sleepy. I was like, babe, just grab my stuff. Like, eyes are closed. Let's roll. So a month after surgery, I am waiting for this bill anxiously. And I'm like, God, this is going to break us. This sucks. 3 months in, I am waiting for this bill. 5 months in, I am waiting for this bill. 10 months down, I am waiting for this bill. The bill has never come.
Are you kidding me?
This emergency insurance covered my entire surgery.
Stop.
So I ended up paying less than what I paid on my current health insurance plan. So that was like a huge blessing. But
wait, you could have stayed at the hospital for longer.
You telling me I could have stayed under anesthesia for a little bit more?
Not this mystery health insurance.
Yeah, so I wish I could find the card. I'll send you guys a photo. It's like, so I don't know what happened, but regardless, it took me probably a year after my surgery for me to run again. Like, that's how intense the surgery was.
Wow.
So for 2 months after surgery, my leg was straight. Like, I couldn't bend my knee.
Oh my gosh.
So anyways, 2023, the knee was just doing really bad again, where I was like, I probably need to go get this checked out. And then 2024, I just was like, all right, I'm going to do all the little things that I can that I used to do to take care of this knee. And I'm just going to get stronger. And I did. So like, I feel so good now. Like, my body feels so good and my knee feels good. And that is like something I am so grateful for. And I'm grateful for that insurance that I don't have anymore.
Amen.
Because it did its job.
Yeah, aim. Was it just for that one thing? Like, you don't get to keep the insurance forever? It's just
I have no idea. I just didn't ask questions.
Don't know what happened.
I was like, yo, we out. I don't know if somebody like misplaced my file somewhere.
Like I said, we're good. Let's leave.
Yeah. Like, if God's hand was literally just like, yeah, no, let's like lose this one, you know.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
So it was wild. So the only thing I paid for was when we went to some like public emergency room, and I paid them like $3,000 for them to give me a pair of crutches and ibuprofen and tell me that I needed to go somewhere else.
No.
We love it.
$3,000.
We love it.
So.
Oh my gosh. That's wild. Listen, what I've learned from this podcast is your self-discipline is top notch. He said, you know what? I'm just going to do what it takes to fix my knee. And I'm going to do all the therapy things. You know what? I'm just going to not scroll on social media anymore. I'm just going to read all these heady books because it makes me a better person. So I'm just going to do it. Self-discipline is your game, sir. I need some of that.
Listen, to me, I'm like, you sound so trustworthy, because I'm like, if you say you're going to do something, I believe you're going to do it.
Yeah, Brandon's coming through.
I'm going to do it.
B, we listened to a voicemail message on the podcast of somebody who has called in to tell us what they're grateful for, and Danielle picks it for us, so you and I will just listen for the first time.
Fun.
And if you're watching or listening to this podcast and you're like, hey, I want to call and tell you what I'm grateful for so that you can play my voice message on the next episode, you can call us at this phone number.
747-300-5380. Give us a call. Ooh, yeah.
I imagine Gabe singing that last part with like
Exactly.
a head, like just like really like ugly singing face. You know when you're like singing so good your face turns ugly.
Sure.
That's what I imagine that
That's
last
amazing.
note right
That's
there.
Gabe?
Gabe.
Yeah. Love that.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
guys came to the show with us.
Yeah,
to
that was
see
so much
Gabe
fun.
Oh,
at his
yes.
performance. What was it?
Yeah.
Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness. Reefer
Reefer
Madness.
Madness.
Yes, and he did
played-
so good.
Yeah,
He
Gabe-
played Jesus.
He did play Jesus.
he played Reefer Jesus.
Yes, definitely not sacrilegious at all.
Yeah.
What? Okay,
Who do we have today, Danielle?
listen up.
Hi, Angela. My name is Susie, and I got to see you when you came to Rancho Mirage. It was an
Aw.
awesome show,
Thank you.
and I'm grateful for that I get to wake up every day and take a drive to my mom's in Cathedral City and opening that door and her still sitting there, waiting for me to help her make breakfast and help her with her coffee. I'm grateful that I still get to have her. She's 84 and not in good health. And every day I pray God to give me another day with her. Because I don't know what I'll do if she's gone. But that's what I'm grateful for. You take care. Love you. Bye.
Girl,
I love that.
that's beautiful.
Mhm.
I get that so
Mhm.
hard. That's like before my Thea Mary passed, I remember being on the phone with her. We'd have our regular weekly phone calls, and I was on a call with her, and I hung up, and I was like, I don't know how many of those I get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more I get of those. And I got really sad. I'm like, she could pass anytime now. 10 years later, she passed. I got 10 more years of those phone
Wow.
calls. Bless. She lived to be 102 years old. So,
Yeah.
homegirl, I pray your mama gets to 102 as well.
Yeah.
And you get to have coffee with her and make her breakfast. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. B, thank you for coming on Funjelah.
Thank you for having me. It was
I
so nice.
loved having you.
It was so much
and
fun.
sharing stories and just hearing from you because you're so thoughtful and I love to process with you, even like share my dreams with
Yeah,
you.
I love that.
Brandon interprets dreams and he has a gift of doing that. Oh, she has the weirdest dreams
Oh
of
my gosh.
all time.
I do.
And they're very
I do.
detailed.
Whoa.
She's
I haven't-
vivid over here.
Yeah, I haven't dreamt in a while. But anytime I have a dream, I'm like, this feels important. I'll call Brandon and be like, what do you think about this? But I love that we can really just call each other at any moment and just ask a question. And I feel like we're both just going to go there
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah.
And like, I don't call you to fluff.
Right.
Like,
There's
I call you because I want depth.
Yeah.
And you're always there and you're always ready and available. And I'm so grateful for you. So thank you.
I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. As soon as you asked me, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have so much fun on Monday. So,
Thank
anyways,
you.
thank you so much.
Love you.
Love you too.